movement. And your mom's favorite band probably CIA created the hippie movement. And your mom's favorite band probably helped them. In the 1950s, the CIA bought up the world's supply of LSD. They brought it to the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, who reverse engineered it, giving them an unlimited supply and a complete monopoly. Then the testing started. One early volunteer for these tests was Ken Kesey. Kesey wrote a book inspired by this experience, which became a bestseller. Then Kesey went on to host events, which he called acid tests. And he wasn't charging anyone, he just wanted people to show up and do acid. For these events, he hired an unknown house band called the Grateful Dead. These events became wildly popular, and with them rose the popularity of the band. So the Grateful Dead begins touring, and Kesey follows them around in a bus from show to show. And everywhere he went, he brought a vat full of Kool-Aid laced with LSD. This guy had a seemingly endless supply, exporting the hippie culture all around the US. Meanwhile, the CIA is flooding college campuses with LSD under the guise of research. And the Grateful Dead was just one of many bands in this movement. At the same time, in Laurel Canyon came a wave of musicians with something in common. They were all children of high-ranking military officials. The biggest names in music: Jim Morrison of The Doors was the son of an admiral. Frank Zappa's father was a chemical warfare specialist. Even Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Yeah, all three of them. And all of these bands as well. The theory is the CIA orchestrated the hippie movement to steer a very real anti-war movement into something a little easier to combat. Dissent without teeth. The hippie slogan was literally,
turn on, tune in, drop out.
In other words, do acid and remove yourself from society. And a lot of them did drop out of society to go live in communes in the woods. This intersection between hippie culture and the CIA could all be a great big coincidence. Maybe military brats naturally want to rebel. And maybe the CIA was giving away acid because they're chill like that. Or maybe CIA created the hippie.
Have you ever noticed every time you go into a shop, there's music playing? You turn on your car, there is music playing. You go for food in a restaurant, there's music playing. There is music playing everywhere you go inside of this matrix. Now, the reason for that is not just for entertainment. They want so much mental activity in your mind so that you do not think critically. Because if there's music playing in a shop, you're in a semi-conscious state, and there's mental activity, meaning you won't really think about picking up certain things. You will spend more money more than likely. Now, music also manipulates how you think, how you feel, even how you move your body. It manipulates all four dimensions of human consciousness: your will, your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. Music is not just music and entertainment, people. It is literally mind control. It can change and invoke emotions, invoke emotional states and mind states. So be careful what you listen to, because you become that state of consciousness that you listen to.
Alright, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Makar Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and a few sisters out there. Unto the like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. And certain things I could agree with him, but he fails to understand that music is also good for your soul. But like the first video, which when I do this, sometimes they don't go back. When I was speaking of the CIA and how they utilize music with drugs, which was a mind control drugs, and using that tool. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Using that tool, a mind control tool to the people, and you associate quickly with drugs. And that was an experiment which we all fell under, especially when different genre of music took a toll. And this was all part of Esau's plan. And that scene that the man was that was from the clone Tyrone, showing you that the music especially now the trash music that's been playing. I think it's still called trap music. I don't know. No, drill, right? Drill music. Yeah, it drills into your mind and put all the bullshit that they put, and it has a certain way of people's behavior to become trippy. You know, the CIA are responsible for a lot of things. The CIA technically is like the Chaldees, the agencies of the Chaldees. Really, to be quite honest, the Chaldees are the illuminated one, but these mother effers been working on the minds of millions of people for decades. All right, they bought Disney. They bought that the place in Orlando, Florida, and gave it to Walt Disney to manipulate the minds of generations. They control Hollywood. All right, they bought the land in Hollywood. I was watching the. Oh shit, that's kind of heavy. There's, you put things together. Sometimes you think our react, the way we move and we do certain things, and you may think is just impulsive or I just did it. Like you just go to a restaurant just to go. Nah, everything that we do, everything that we watch, everything we listen goes exactly how the Lord wants us to go. Is what we learning. I was watching a movie, not movie, show called Welcome to Derry, which is the It, is a TV show of the um from the TV movie It, which was a clown, and the clown which is a demon that was eating up children. And guess what? Guess what? The best time he decided to eat children, and they even mention it in the movie. All right. Well, I'm not even say it. So in that show, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but not spoiler alert, is the fact that the people that was trying to control the demon because they wanted to utilize that demon's skill set, so to speak. And everything comes together. And I was sitting there watching this show. I'm like, yo, sometimes you put yourself in the movie, sometimes you don't. But I'm sitting there watching the show, like, you gotta be stupid to think you control this. But that's these people. That's how the CIA thinks. They think they can control the world that's beyond. Another TV show, it was a good show too. Agents of Shield, and throughout that show, they even broke it down how there was a season when it was dealing with a certain type of book, and that book came from another dimension, and that dimension that it came from, which it doesn't really matter, it gave the user all sorts of power technically out of this world, and it corrupts every person. It makes the unimaginable manageable. This I'm just giving clues if you want to watch it. I think you can watch it. They probably took it. It should be on Netflix, but that's a good show. That in the beginning. That was a good fucking show. Started slow, going with the movies and so forth. But the point is, the people that's controlling Hollywood, that's controlling the drugs, all in the same. They got people on a spell. They play with your emotions. All right. They know what suits you. You go in the elevator music. You call certain people, tele, certain places like a telecom, whatever. Calling today, you probably call Amazon or anything, and they'll if you do get a response, they put you on hold. They'll play a certain music, and when that music is supposed to calm you down, this is all science. This is what they would consider science, knowledge. That's all science is. So they experimented, and so happens that all these great movements, like they mentioned of the lead singer of the Door. What's this guy's name? Shit, I just had it. Let me get it. Yeah, lead singer of the Doors, which I should know. They had the movie with Val Kilmer in the years back, and he had a lot of good songs, but it was all about acid and tripping. But he's juiced in to the military, and the military is well known for doing science experiment on people. All right.
At the same time, in Laurel Canyon came a wave of musicians with something in common. They were all children of high-ranking military officials.
Which is what they also programmed their children to do that. See, everything's coming out on ESO. Every single thing. All right. They play with forces that they don't have no understanding. Hey, Stranger Things. They even show that how they was trying to the U.S. military was trying to militarize something that was beyond their comprehension. So can they send agents out? Absolutely. I believe they groom children. Hollywood, everything they groom their children from jump to be a certain way. That's why they stick with each other. A lot of them grew up with each other. But hey, let me get this guy.
Biggest names in music: Jim Morrison of the
Jim
Doors.
Morrison. Yeah, Jim Morrison. All right. And he was supposed to be rebellion, supposed to be this rebellious thing, but all he did was help forward the acid trip. All right. I believe Jimi Hendrix, he wasn't into acid, but they made him overdose because they used him. Shit, what they did to Michael, what they did to Whitney, after they utilized them, and they couldn't do no more with them, and the artist decides, nah, I want my royalty, I want this, I want that, start speaking out, they take them out. So this is just beyond. So they use the musicians to push the madness, and all it does is put spirits on people, proving that I was I'm always watching something during the 2000s. I didn't even know that. I was just watching something they was talking about on YouTube. They call it JR&B. What did that mean? Japanese R&B. And a lot of the the artists came from the states, went back to their home country, and brought a brand of music that we was familiar with. So yes, America is the headquarters of everything. Matter of fact, we start with that one. Jeremiah 51:7, I believe. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. And the wine is just not just a philosophies, which is under the category of the philosophies. It varies. You go from on the divorce rates of what's under divorce rates comes from feminism. Feminism is pushed to certain places in the world, and they're dealing with their divorce rates, and they're dealing with the nonsense that we deal with. Right? I was watching something. Like I said, I'm always looking something up. I was keeping busy. They said the way how in the West they mourn for their dead is different from how they do in the East. And when tragedy happens to other countries, this is how deep this thing is. When tragedy happens to other countries, they have a way of dealing with that. But when the West comes over, they make mourning even worse. So these philosophies that's here in the shores of America, the thought process it spreads just like the whole passport movement, right? This whole entire that was another CIA ops. They infiltrate every single aspect that you could think, and we may not think that deep, but there's a reason why you have a television in each room of your house. There's a reason why people want to go on and broadcast what they do in other places in their privacy. All right, that growing up, privacy is privacy, yo. But this generation is so it's like they anti-privacy, and that was a feat. That's a That's a spell that's put on people to do certain things. Okay, everything that you could think of is under that category of the wine of the whore that got the earth really fucked up right now. All right, it says therefore the nations are mad because even with our form of music, hip hop, all right, which started in the Bronx, New York, which was a local thing and that spread so far, even from the inception of it. All right, they had their hand in it, and it's quite obvious. Okay, it's quite obvious, and you go from a generation that all I used to listen to was love ballad, and sounds. Okay, love ballad sounds. We call it. You could call it rock and roll, funk, R&B, whatever. Right, but it was always in some sort of positive. Yet you had your adulterous songs out there, but you went from that to obviously disco, which died, but then this new thing called hip hop, which was more aggressive. The energy was different. All right, people really, that was a youthful genre of music. You think they didn't have a hand? That's why you had Grandmaster Flash, this guy Grandmaster Caz, all these different Grandmasters. Where do you got that term from? That terms come from Freemasonry. All right. Now I brung that up for because I was listening to something else, and it was basically saying that Russian parents didn't want their children to listen to hip hop because the Russian parents was like, "Yo, that shit is depressing," which it is depressing. It's all from the form of Jake in the form of what blues. Blues is the birth of all this different genre of music, which came from Israel because we in that state. So, but that spirit carries over to the four corners of the earth. He who controls the minds of the people controls the people. So you add that with the acid and the drugs, and most songs came from fucking damn near everybody smoking weed, sniffing coke, all this shit. That shit is spread out to the whole four corners of the earth. Because why? Babylon the Great is the headquarters of all form of witchcraft. Nahum 3:1, it says, "Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not." Which you ought to praise. Jake, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans jumping down. It says, verse 4, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft that selleth nations through her whoredoms. So now it's not a local thing, it becomes a global thing. That wasn't by accident. Going back to Hollywood, they named the whole section of California Hollywood. Lots, everything like that. Many people that comes to the United States of America, I'm talking about for my generation, would sit there and say the reason why I came over here because I saw this particular film. You think that was by accident? That was inspiring. That was a spell that was being broadcast to the four corners of the earth. You even have the other nations competing with Hollywood, which Hollywood is dead. All right, you got Bollywood. You got I forgot what they call it for Nigeria. You got all these different forms of the same thing. Like I stated, you had Japanese R&B, you got Japanese hip hop, Korean hip hop. You got Korean movies, the Korean Hollywood version. Nigerians, which are Jake, but they got their different versions because it is there's a package deal that's being sold. And what does it do? It does the exact same thing that it does to people over here. All right, drugs, guns, sex, violence, packaged throughout the whole four corners of the earth, which already has their differences, but they take the spin of this place. It says through her whoredoms and the families through her witchcrafts. So this thing is being pushed all over the place and mind control everybody. That's why they did what they did. And I'm not saying they're the only ones. Wherever Esau is at, that's what they do. That shit goes back to what's his face? uh, Adolf Schuckenhuber, the Nazis, they also was playing with people's minds and emotions. The whole concept of fluoride, putting fluoride in their water, that comes from them. All right, they studying. What do Esau do? He studies the mind. That's why his blessing was what Genesis, Genesis 25, which is really his characteristics. I'm looking at 25, 25, and I want to go to the point. Genesis 25 and 29, and Jacob. No, sorry. Genesis 25 and 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter. All right, a man of the field. Now, if you look up the word cunning, yad, which means to know, right? What is this whole man's thing? Is about knowledge, knowledge of not of self, knowledge on everything. This man is he is a, a spiritual agent of chaos that studies everything and everyone. All right, he studies from the stars, the quasars, to the micro, the microspect, the micro world that we don't can't see. But his main study is in the human mind. That's his main study, and it's all leads to the same thing. And something that GMS out of all Israelite camps always been teaching and always shall be teaching until they make it mandatory and you people are going to see for your own self. And that goes into the RFID microchip. Everything leads to that. Everything, all these little science projects, all these little mind control, and the whole concept of that particular time was called MK Ultra. All right, you have the Manchurian Candidate, the movie, which come to find out it was an actual, it was based on real life, and it was called Men Who Stares at Goats. All right, which I didn't really get to see, but I heard when I find out it was based on real life. Oh, that shit was even referenced in another. Yeah, it was referencing that show. Um, welcome to uh, welcome to Derry. The It show. And why they keep reference each thing is reference each other because it gives clues. He speaks um in in code. All right. Matter of fact, let me see if I got is it 28 and 15 or 16? It's like it. It says this is one of them. This is one of them, but it's not the one I'm looking for. Hold on. Maybe it's on 29. And a key point, I know this one says whispers, which goes into a spell, but there's another one that says it. I think this is one. Sirach 21 and no, that's not the one. It's another one. Damn. You know what? I'll start here. I'll do this one anyway. Sirach 21 and 27. And when the ungodly curses Satan, he curseth his own soul, which is Esau. All right? Because the Edomites, they're the adversary. A whisperer defileth his own soul and is hated wheresoever he dwelleth, which is Esau. All right? Esau is the whisperer. When you go into that word whisper, which I always, matter of fact, let me do that. I got to do it. Got nothing but time in my hand. Genesis 3 and 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord thy power had made. And it's not talking about actual beasts, it's talking about men. Out of all the groups of men that were created, these particular people were more subtle. This particular man, which when you look it up, go to serpent, the Hebrew word is nakash, and you have to look the original word. At first, it tells you a serpent, snake, and this is right here what the blue letter just did, which is blue letter. Everything. That's why you gotta filter things out. You gotta know how to read things, and everything's written in code. So it tells you this one particular word, and it says like a serpent, which is right here, image of a serpent, fleeing serpent, a mythological. So right there it tells you mythological. This is what you call control. So I want to keep you in the mindset that it was a snake that Eve was talking to, and that's the third. Now when you look in deeper, right here it says origin, right? From, so that this H5175 is not the original word that was supposed to be there. All right. It was not the original word that was supposed to be there. That's very important. Now, when you go into the original word of this same word, Nakash, this is H5172. Now you go to the definition. It means to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice, fortune telling, taking as an omen. So this one word right here does not gives the characteristics of a serpent, a snake. It does not give that at all. All right. It says to practice divinations. What snake do you know practice divination? That's people may say, what about the the people that uses the whistle to with the serpent, with the cobras and everything like that, because they follow sound. They don't hear sound, they follow sound. That has nothing to do with that. Then it says something else. So usually when they have multiple different meanings to one thing, which usually conflicted especially when you go into the Greek, they can have like a whole bunch of different meanings to one word. But with the Hebrew, which is the original tongue, there's always one meaning. All right. It says to observe signs or omens. No snake on the planet Earth does that. Now, when you go down, you keep going down, it says Strong's definition. So the definitions of that Strong's. A primitive root, primarily to hiss, that is whisper, a magic spell. So this serpent was an actual man that was practicing divination in a period of time of the beginning of the world. So he off top, he was not even a part of the equation. He was into other things. All right. And it says generally the protagonistic X certainly divine enchantment, learned by experience, indeed diligently observed. So that's the characteristics of a man. Point blank period. And the key word was what? Whisper. Now I could go to the other. It says right here, Sirach 28 and 16. I go up 13, which I wish there was a thing because it's supposed to give me. There's another one I can't remember. 13 on 28:13. Curse the whisperer and the double tongue, for as such have destroyed many that were at peace. Now, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. So it gives one, the Strong's definition gives you for the word serpent, all this other things, but the key was whisper and a double tongue. Who's known in history for being speak with a double tongue? Esau. That's his whole historic thing. So he carries that spirit of the serpent, and he destroyed the peace of people. And what that guy was talking about, he was talking about the last guy with the one with the movie they cloned Tyrone, talking about how they use music and they use it in the wrong way. They put music. That's why you have the radio station. Radio stations are known for what? Playing constant the same goddamn thing all the time. The songs that you may not even like, they play so much, it sticks in your subconscious. That happens to everybody, and it plays in your freaking head, and you end up start liking it. That's witchcraft. That's strictly witchcraft. It's enchantments. Okay. It says, backbiting tongue that have disquieted many, have driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities have it pulled down and overthrown the house of great men. Going back in the beginning, Adam. Adam's house was thrown down because it was disrupted by the serpent. And he went to who? The woman, the weaker vessel. Whoso hearken unto it shall never find rest and never dwell quietly. So if you being formed and follow what they put in to the whatever messages they put in the music, you will never find peace. All right. Now, you gotta go. Everything is written. Everything is documented. Genesis 4 and I want to go straight to the point as always. These are the descendants of Cain. There it is, verse 22. Genesis 4 and 22. Zula, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of artifacts in brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal Cain was Na, Na, Nami, or Nami, sounds better. Where's the other guy? Where's the other guy? That's not the one I was looking for. And this is what you consider the children of the wicked. All right, there it is. Sorry, 22, 21. And his brother name was Jobal, and he was the father of all such that handle the harp and organ. So it's in their spirit. They know how to work music. They know how to work in the minds of the people. They study. Going back to Esau, he's a cunning hunter. Cunning means yad in Hebrew. Yad means, it can mean hand, but it also means knowing. All right. So his whole thing is to know everything. That's the scripture says. The one for the one of wisdom, right? A matter of fact, it's in the Apocrypha anyway. Yeah, actually, it's in the same thing I'm looking for. Not looking for, but Sirach 22, I believe it's 20. I do 22 straight to the point. It says, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of the sinner is prudent. There is a wickedness and the same an abomination. There is a fool wanting wisdom. Wanting wisdom. So there's a fool out there that's always constantly searching. That, like the scripture says, always learning, never understanding. That's Esau. The name of the game is knowledge, power. And the power is what? Utilizing such subjects. The people are the subjects. This is why they had used different drugs, LSDs, and so forth to bring down the mindset of people. The mind compared to people in the ancient world, the people now, not because they listen to music all the time, not because of none of that. The minds of the people back then were a lot stronger than the people of today. So it's easily influenced. Why? Because people have no control over their own spirit, which is my. Let's see if I can remember this one. Proverbs 19, I believe it's 19 and 10. Nope. Proverbs. I always get this. I always forget this. In Proverbs 25, 25 and 28, it says, "He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken and without walls." And why people don't have no control of their own spirit? Because we live in a place where you're deprived of knowing your own self. You're not your mind is not fortified. If your mind is not fortified, it leaves open to different things to mess with you. And that's the subject. Meaning you become demonic food, right? Ephesians 6 and 10. It says 6 and 12 to the point. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and the key word is what? Wrestle, meaning you fighting. And this is why everybody is conflicted. Everybody find ease in what? Taking drugs. Um, there's nothing wrong with drinking strong drink or wine, but they call it what? Spirits. They literally call strong drinks and wine spirits. The drugs that people are using is the same drugs that people use in the ancient world to get connected to spirits. So you constantly your conscience is fighting. All right, if you're trying to maintain to be righteous, it says Greek word is pel. Wow, wrestle to contest between two in which each endeavors to throw the other, and which decided when the victory is able to hold his opponent down with his hand upon his neck, meaning you submit. It says the terms is transformed or transferred to the Christian struggle with the power of evil. So we are literally fighting our conscious, our subconscious, with we're combating the things that's around us. And they created an environment to harvest these things and give the things that we're fighting against more strength. It says, and blood, it said flesh and blood against principalities, which are principalities or demons. All right. Against powers and the rulers of darkness of this world. So that tells you there's a certain club of people that sit in the darkness that runs this world. All right. And they're the ones that orchestrate all this madness around us and against spiritual wickedness in high places. You know how heavy this one scripture is? It narrowed down, and when you put everything in context and you put it where we at, how they doing things, why they doing things, how they influencing everything around the world, how they get the strength, because it was in their spiritual DNA to do that from the jump. All right, and to do what? To influence and to control people, so they ultimately control people, mind, spirit, and soul. That's why we have to constantly be prayed up, fortify our minds. It says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that you be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. All right. So we can't combat this on our own thoughts. The thoughts that we even have to, in order to combat certain shit, is being programmed to people. Like if you watch the TV show Supernatural, was which in the beginning was good, but then it got real stupid. But now you watch that, you give you ideas like, oh, this is how you combat bad spirits. No, that's how you can. That's how you commit witchcraft. All right. All this shit that they do is to help you program to keep you locked in. That's all it does. And the only avenue, the only thing to protect you is the actual scriptures. All right. So with that being said, shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, shalom.